Hi, everyone. My name is Lynn McEntee. I'm your humble host of Youth Connections Cafe. It's hosted by Moksha Canada Foundation and bellletstalk. And the program is about connecting, creating, and inspiring the youth of today. Before we get started on this virtual platform, I'll do an land acknowledgement for the virtual platform that we're on today. Welcome to all. I would like to begin by acknowledging the Indigenous people of all the lands that we're on today. While we meet today on a virtual platform, I would like to take a moment to acknowledge the importance of the lands which we all call home. Welcome to everybody who is tuning in and listening, and will be speaking to you at a future date as well. Thank you so much for being here. Once again, it's Moksha Canada Foundation, bellletstalk, Youth Connections Cafe. And part of Moksha Canada Foundation, our vision is to connect, engage, empower communities to become healthy and create a positive change in the social, cultural, and economic development of all residents and neighborhoods. But in particular for this programming, it is Youth Connections Cafe. I have a wonderful guest today and also a guest attendee. Our wonderful guest is from Elora House Project, and her name is Luisa Krause. And Luisa, I wonder if you could just take a moment to say a quick hello. I'll introduce our guest attendee, Nicole, as well, and then we'll double back to you in conversation and see where the conversation leads. So, Luisa, today we're actually talking about trafficking, exploitation, and rehabilitation. And we have a guest expert here today, Luisa Krause from Elora House, and she is the founder and executive director, but she likes to be called the founder as well.
Yes, thank you. I actually don't like to be called executive director because it just seems so like I'm not into titles, but
yeah, I remember you said, and I thought founder.
Yeah,
for
yeah.
sure. Yeah.
But thank you for having me here. I really appreciate it. I love talking to youth. I think that if we can get to them before they get caught up in this, that would be my dream.
Amazing.
Eradicate this horrible crime.
Thank you, Luisa. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'll take a moment to open up the floor briefly to Nicole. Nicole has been a guest speaker with us before. Allow her to introduce herself, and then we will be part of this conversation, listening and learning from you, Luisa. Nicole Flynn, welcome. Hi.
Hello again.
Hi, Nicole.
Hi. So, okay. Thank you, Lynn McEntee.
Yes.
I am the CEO of Nicole Flynn Enterprises, the photography and presentation business. I give workshops and presentations about accessibility and inclusion that lead to the belonging of all people in their communities. I believe it is important that all people are included in discussions and the decision-making process. I don't know much. Sorry, let me try again. I don't know how much, not how much. I meant to say, I don't know much about sex trafficking. I am here to learn and find out ways that communities can help. Back to you, Lynn.
Thank you so much, Nicole. 100%. So we're all about inclusion and exploring what it means to be a citizen and participate in community discussion. So thank you so much, Nicole, for being here today. I want to bring it back to Luisa Krause, who again is the founder of Elora House, underscoring our topic of trafficking, exploitation, and rehabilitation. And Luisa, just a basic question. If you could tell us a little bit more about yourself, and then we can lead into other questions as well. I know that we talked off camera about having a presentation on screen. So for anybody that's tuning in, we will provide that for you as well to enhance the conversation. Luisa, tell us about yourself.
So I am a married woman of 28 years with my sweet husband, and we have 2 children, ages 22 and 24. My daughter just got married last Friday, and it has been a very crazy month and a half. But it's been fun, and we're doing renovations in our basement. I work I've worked in several different fields. I've worked in the dental field. I've worked in the finance field. I'm now in the spiritual field. And so and also working with women in trauma and for the past 20 years. So I have quite a bit of experience in different areas. And so I personally was a victim of a very bad relationship with a young man who was about 6 years older than me when I was 15 and a half. And so I had some abuse and like in different forms and found it very difficult to leave that situation, and had a friend literally rescue me from that situation after 4 years of being in it. And when I found out about human trafficking and sex trafficking, which I had no idea was like, I had watched Taken and I had no idea what it was like here in Canada. And I realized that I experienced a lot of similar things and just be feeling trapped and not being able to leave. And so I decided that I wanted to do something about it. And I had taken women into my home 4 or 5 times, into my actual house for 3 months to a year. And then my family was quite adaptable and loving about it. But then we decided, you know what, we should actually do something on a bigger scale. So let's actually do this. And so the dream began for Elora House. And we opened 3 and a bit years ago, March 2020, the same week that COVID shut everything down. We opened literally the same week. And so it was a little crazy. But it is such a purposeful project. And the girls, I am honored to work with them. I literally just, my heart falls for each of them. I adore them and I love what I do. And so that's me, I guess.
Wow.
I don't want to keep going, but yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Thank you so much for the open introduction to yourself, but also the work and where we're going to go in this conversation. Really appreciate that. Amazing, Louisa. Thank you for the backstory as well. And I think that's really important for our listeners and anybody tuning in the future to just understand that, we all come to the table with our stories, and it's important to validate each other and create a platform of safe space to have conversations about the exact thing we're talking about today.
Yeah.
So amazing. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
I know that,
Can I just say something about that? I think that is the biggest problem, is that people aren't open about what's happened to them because of the shame and the guilt. And so I have friends that are my age, so I'm 52, and that have just started talking about it. And so it's really hard. And so I just I just want to encourage people to be open and find safe places to talk. And it'd be really nice and ideal if they could do that in their homes, but sometimes that's not possible. So yeah.
And thank you for that encouragement and
Mhm.
gentle nudge for others who are, so I guess, on the edge of conversation.
Yes,
So
for
thank
sure.
you. Thank you so much. And I know you have a presentation as well, and you let me know if
Yeah,
this is appropriate getting into
sure.
this next question. And if not, we can go right into the presentation as you feel appropriate.
Sure.
So simply, it was what is Elora House? And you mentioned when it was founded, so appreciate that. But what is Elora House and what does it represent?
Sure. It is a home that we take in victims of human trafficking, and it's for females. And we basically give them a safe place with no judgment, unconditional kindness, and we have programs for them. So there's 3 stages. The first one is rest, second is rebuild, and third is restart. And so in the first stage, the first 3 months that they're with us, they can stay up to a year. But the first 3 months is really focused on them being grounded, figuring out who they are, what they like. Sometimes they have come from such trapped and horrible environments. They don't even know what they like or what they want to eat, or they don't even know how to cook, or they just haven't relaxed. And so there's a lot of journaling and a group every day, and inspirational talks and exercise, mindfulness, horse therapy, art therapy, all those kinds of things that they get to do and participate in. The first few days when they come, they usually sleep a lot. Yes, you have a question, Nicole.
Mhm. Thank you, Louisa, for picking.
Well, I'll still go through with mindfulness and women and girls, right?
Mhm.
In Elora House. Is it the type of organization that is rehabilitating atmosphere?
Mhm.
Or
That's
shall
a
I explain more on that?
that's a good question, actually.
Can you tell, I didn't understand everything you said, something about mindfulness and atmosphere, but I didn't quite get it. I apologize.
It's okay. It's okay. I can repeat that question.
Mhm.
Mostly, you have listed some of ways for women and girls to cope with the difficult situation with sex trafficking. Is this place, Elora House, is it similar to what is it called? Rehab.
Um, well, it's rehab is mostly about addiction, right? So it is, we do have that piece in there, kind of on a smaller scale. Um, but that is something we do address. And if people need to go there, we will actually send them, or if people need mental health help, then we will send them to get stronger help or greater help in those areas. But we do help them by like making sure they're in trauma therapy and exercising their mind, their spirit, their body. Like we we do like a full holistic view. Like we even have concussive therapy if they need it, like all sorts of, like we try to give them whatever they need. We try to find what they need, because not everyone's the same. Someone will come in and they don't need concussive therapy. They don't have trauma to the brain, but some do. And some people don't have addictions, but most of them do. Um, some people have a real strong faith and they want to explore that in different ways. And so we allow them to do that. And so some people will meditate, some people want to go to church, some people, like we've had Indigenous women come and do, what's it called? With, oh shoot, I can't remember what it's called, but they use, not incense, maybe it is incense, but like whatever
Yes.
helps them to find what they need is
Mhm.
what they do.
Mhm. I wonder then, Nicole, if you don't mind, if we could maybe go a little further in the conversation, and then maybe we'll double back for some questions, and it gives Louisa an opportunity to kind of just free flow, if that's okay. Yeah, I'm going to do that just to kind of, and then she may do a presentation,
Yeah, I can
and
do
then
that now if you
we
want.
may double back. But I wanted to jump in. I know Nicole's got a couple of questions that she's going to ask as well too. But you mentioned about Nicole had asked about rehab, and there is a detox component, as you had mentioned.
Yes.
So
Yes.
that's just a component, and it's only one part of it. And as you said, not everybody needs that. They may need other things because it's very individual. Um,
Right.
could you speak?
Most do.
Yeah. Yes, yeah.
And they do have to go to
Yeah,
a detox center for 72 hours before they come to us. They
yeah,
have to be clean,
yeah,
because in our program, unlike shelters or different places, they cannot come with drugs. They have to be clean and stable.
yeah.
So we've had girls where currently we have a girl who came to us, but within 2 weeks we found she was not stable. So we had to send her to the Homewood.
Yeah,
And so she's getting help there, which is great. And then she'll come back to us.
yeah.
But yeah, we want to make sure that they have all the tools to get what they need.
Yeah, and that's very important. I know that even just your public information about the programming that underscores that for sure, and it does emphasize that 72-hour period just to kind of stabilize, if you will,
Yeah,
the relationship that will begin,
yeah,
right? Yeah, for sure.
yeah.
Are you okay fielding a question at this time from Nicole?
Sure,
And I see, or Nicole, are you okay to wait? Be open. Yeah, if you want to ask it now, I'm okay with that. And I'm sure Louisa is too.
sure.
Like you said,
Yeah,
is to let Lisa to speak freely
yeah.
and dig deeper first before I ask any more questions.
You got it, Nicole. Sounds good. Thanks for
Okay?
going with the flow. I
You're
appreciate
welcome.
it. Awesome. Thank you a lot. So we understand about when it was founded. We understand what Elora House is about. And of course it is in Ontario. For others that don't know. Louisa, this is not on my questions, but are there any other programs like that around?
So I do know of places, there's a few places in Ontario that are more of like a second stage,
Yeah.
where the girls are more stable and, working at getting to work or going to school. And we do have that in our second stage where the girls need to like finish their high school or college or university or whatever, and then get jobs. First, we get them to volunteer and get jobs. So there are second stage ones that I'm aware of. Um, I don't, I'm learning about, I thought I knew, but I'm learning more stuff as I'm getting to know more girls that have been in the programs. Uh, I don't know of how many that actually have 24/7 in-person
Um,
staff. I know there are some, but a lot of them have access 24/7 to staff. But in our home, we actually have staff on site
wow.
every day, every hour.
Amazing.
Yeah. So
Okay.
it is a bit different. I don't, off the top of my head, I am not aware of anything in Ontario that takes girls like right out of detox that give them the same kind of 24/7 care that we do. That is
Understood.
like exactly the way we do it. I'm not aware.
Okay. Okay. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. What are the ages of the residents at this time? And do you say residents? Is that respectful or do you?
That's respectful. I like that. I don't like saying clients.
Yes.
Um, so because this is their home, we want them to feel at home. So currently the girls we have are in their 20s.
Mhm.
The average age that we get is 18 to 24. We've had as young as 14 and as old as 50, but the majority of the girls are 18 to 24.
Okay.
And currently we have 19, 20. I'm trying to remember, but the other ones are in their 20s. Yeah. So
Okay. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Um, then you meant I'm sort of jumping around a little bit here, but the
okay.
rest rebuild and restart portion of the program, the rebuild would be including high school at that point.
High
Uh,
school. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
Volunteering, getting a job, getting housing in place, and then restarting. We're working on that stage. First, when we opened, we only had stage one. Now we have stage two, and we're currently working on stage three, which would be either getting scholarships for the girls or helping them with their rent and like setting up, talking to business people and people that would like to be part of that section. And I'm working with a business person who is willing to help us for the first year find decent housing for a more affordable rent. The things that you get from the county are not always the safest areas to go. And so we are trying to find them other places to live that are nicer and still at a decent rate. So we're working on that right now because this is the first year we've actually had girls stay for a year. So we have two girls that are going to be graduating in the new year. So one's going off to university and the other
Amazing.
one will be reunited with her family and
That's
going to
incredible.
college probably. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very exciting. So before we only could have them for stage one and then we'd send them off to rehab or to wherever. And so now yeah, that just wasn't working very well. So now we actually get to see the long-term effects, and the transition and transformation that happens is beautiful.
Oh my gosh, I can imagine that experience. And yes, absolutely, Nicole, for sure, 100%. I'm looking sort of through the questions. I'm jumping around because they sort of are applicable at different times in our
That's
conversation. So
okay.
one is, if you are comfortable to speak about what is human trafficking, and for someone who may not understand that process and what brings someone to
Elora House.
Elora House. Yeah.
So, well, the girls we serve are actually victims of sex trafficking, which is slightly different, because human trafficking is making someone do something for pay that
Yeah.
they're not getting paid for, and they're being forced. So whether it's working, or they're taking someone's organs, or they're having to do sexual um yeah. So anyway, sorry, I just lost my wording there.
Oh, that's good. And you know what?
Um
Jump in while you're talking there. We had a conversation with York Regional Police, and they were very specific about talking about the sex trafficking as opposed to human trafficking.
yes.
And it
Yeah.
is very separate divisions, although they
It
cross
is.
over in the education to the public. It is very minute and specific.
It
Yeah.
is very specific. So basically, the girls that we take in, or I shouldn't say girls because sometimes they're women, girls, young girls. I think of girls as young girls, but um, anyways, so they basically, these girls had been forced to have sex in a
Mhm.
nutshell, or do sexual favors for money, which they don't receive. And so it's very, very different than, I don't know if you've seen the movie Sound of Freedom.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So Sound of Freedom, definitely human trafficking, sex trafficking happening. But in those countries, it's a lot different than it is here. So here, most of the time, what happens is they have what they call Romeo pimps. I don't know if you've ever heard that, but a man will pretend to
Yeah.
be a girl's boyfriend, and, love bomb her for the first whatever month or so, and then start taking videos and isolating her, and abusing her, and basically getting her to do things that she doesn't want to do, because of his so-called love. And he will get her 9 times out of 10 addicted to drugs. And so they become dependent on the pimp, and it just goes from there. So the girls that we see, like the girls that are in our home right now, they all were trafficked as young girls. So it's been like a while. So it's like they'll get out, and then someone else will get them in. So because they don't have
Yep.
safe homes to go to, they don't, and often they're scared to leave because their lives are threatened. And so my very first person that I talked to that was trafficked from University of Guelph. And she was in the residency there, and there was a home with a bunch of girls and a guy, and the guy living there actually was a pimp. And so he lured her in, he, promised her the world, and then got her into drugs and doing stuff she didn't want to do, and she didn't know how to get out. And often people, and I'm answering this question because I know people always ask this, so often people will say to me, why don't they just leave? Why don't they just leave? It's so easy. And so, having been a victim of abuse, I know that it is very difficult to leave for so many reasons. Because the first month, let's say, was amazing, and you keep thinking that it's your fault and you have to do something to get back to that first love. And there's trauma bonds, right? There's like so much shame and guilt. There's fear of being hurt because they'll threaten your life or threaten your family's life. So there's so many reasons why they don't leave. And often it's because they also don't have a place to go, and they have nothing because they've had their identity stolen. They've had their, literally their ID stolen. And so they don't have anything. And so this is why they stay.
Mhm. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's for anyone who's not familiar with it or wanting to learn more about it or educating someone else about it in the
Yeah.
process.
Yeah.
Really appreciate that. Um,
Yes.
Nicole, would this be an opportune time for you to ask a question? And then we could actually have Louisa maybe do that presentation, and then we can jump back into questions thereafter.
Sure.
Yeah, thank you. Gives Louisa a chance
Actually,
to moment. Yeah.
actually, I like the idea that way, but I like to see what the presentation is first before I ask any questions,
Okay.
Okay.
if that's okay.
Yeah. Is that okay? That works for
Absolutely.
me.
Yes.
It's great.
Awesome.
So
Well,
I'm going to share my screen.
thank you very much, Louisa. Appreciate that. Awesome.
Wait a second. Where did it
Yeah,
go?
for sure. Yeah.
There we go. Okay. So let me just go through a few things here.
Mhm.
So these are all old statistics, but I do have some recent ones for you. So it says here like that 1,708 incidents of human trafficking reported since 2009, and the mass majority are females, and the ages between 18 to 24, and 3 and 10 were under the age of 18. So that kind of gives you like a little bit of a idea of statistics. But in Wellington County, I got this just recently for another presentation I was doing. So victim services reported in Wellington County, so right where we're from, where I'm from here, just in our little area, 33 people in 2021 new victims. In 2022, 27, and so far in 2023, there was 19. Women in Crisis reported that this year, or this past year alone, they had 58 new clients for human trafficking in our area. So that was pretty major, I feel,
Mhm.
for a very small city, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, just some crazy things here. So these are some more statistics. Unfortunately, statistics are always old. I gave you the ones I gave you just now were the most recent ones that I have. But just to highlight a couple of things here, that the main ways that people recruit for human trafficking is through online, especially now with the way things are. It is so easy for guys to find girls because there's Snapchat and Instagram and all those TikToks and all that stuff. And then there's through relationships, through your jobs, going to clubs, strangers, malls, group homes, all that sort of stuff. And many times the reason why a girl gets to become a victim, not all the time, but a lot of times it happens because she's looking for love and attention, and they can see people that are insecure. They are trained to find the girls that are looking for love, and they just are very good at being sneaky and deceitful, basically.
Mhm.
So, and 60% of people who were trafficked in Canada were traveling along the 400 series of the highways. So basically, any hotel or motel on the 400 series has human trafficking happening in it pretty much every weekend or during the week. That is, I've talked to many girls now. We've served over 40 women in our home, and the average girl, like they'll, at least what I've heard from them is they're serving like 20 to 25 guys a night
Wow.
or a day, I guess. A day would be more accurate, which is crazy. That's
Mhm.
crazy.
Mhm.
Um, so 75% of Ontario's cases actually come from the Greater Toronto area. The crazy thing is that Guelph is sort of right between London and Toronto, and it's a real hub for human trafficking. So here's Guelph Wellington County. Again, I kind of already talked about this information, so I'm gonna skip it. So one of the things that I just want to say about the victims face a lot of stuff besides just the emotional. I mean, that is enough. The emotional trauma is severe, but they end up having countless health problems. So STIs, UTIs, cancer, infertility, heart disease, physical injuries, strangulation. Often they come with complications, brain trauma, concussions, pregnancies, all sorts of psychological problems, complex PTSD, eating disorders, addictions, and it's very, very difficult for them to overcome this huge, like, it's so difficult. It's like peeling an onion back. Yeah. You know, it's just so many layers of trauma. This number, 280,800, is the average yearly income a sex trafficker in Canada makes for each victim they control. That is disgusting, but that is why they do it. It has become, I believe it's number 2 in, or it's getting close to number 1, but it's number 2 in the highest, like sorry, my brain is not awake today. It's not the number 1 way to make money. I think drugs is the first, number 1, and this is the number 2. And the reason why you can make so much money is because a person is able to be sold over and over and over again, so they can make a lot of money, which is very sad. The reality for the victims, often, like, people just think, oh, you're out now, you can just go get a job and live in a home. And it's not that easy. Sometimes the girls, they can't even face making breakfast. Sometimes their trauma is so bad that if they hear like an alarm clock or knocking on the door, they panic. Like, there's just so much stuff that has happened. It's not just an easy thing to reintegrate them back into the world. So, like, I've seen these girls now come with the 2 that we've had now for almost a year, and they're doing really well. It's been 10 months and there's still a lot of work that needs to be done. And so it's a lot. It's really a lot. And what happens is, if they don't have the support in place, they will end up returning back to where they were, not because they want to, but because they don't really have much of a choice. It's a survival thing, right? And so it's really, really important for us not to be judgmental to the victims, and for us to be a safe place if someone comes to us. It's really, really important. So anyways, the realities of, even just like in our area, housing, and this is all over Ontario, housing is a huge crisis. I believe that number has gone up. It's probably closer to 8 or 9 years now for the waiting list. If you're on the, for housing, if you're on the priority list, you're still waiting 6 months to a year. And, you know, often many of them are not finished high school. And that's also really hard for them because, especially if they've had brain trauma, or just, you know, just having to get their mindset on actually doing that. That's just really hard because they're dealing with so much mental health stuff. The addiction some of them's been really lifelong struggle, and I'm really proud of the girls that we've seen. We've seen a lot of success on the addiction piece, because once people start feeling safe and they feel loved, they can start working on themselves. And so we've seen that to be true, and really it's been awesome. Most of the girls do have tattoos that have been branded on them from their pimps. So Victim Services now has a fund that they can actually get things removed, which is great. Employment has been difficult for the girls because often they have limited job skills. The other thing is, like, going back into the reintegrating, it's really hard for them to, let's say, go to work at McDonald's where it's so stressful and then they're only making minimum wage. Like, they can't survive on something like that, right? Their social skills often are lacking. Sometimes some of them come from really healthy families and some of them don't. A lot of them don't. But you know, I noticed, like, we teach them a lot of life skills in our home. So they learn to clean every week. They clean together. They have to have their rooms cleaned every day, tidy. And they learn to garden, shovel, mow the lawn, like all these types of things, cooking. They learn all this stuff because some of them they've never learned how to do that. They've never learned how to cook. They don't know how to clean a toilet. Like, just little things that we take for granted. Boundary and trust issues. I mean, this is huge. So we do a lot of work on conflict resolution. We do a lot of work on boundaries, on, healing their hearts, right? Getting them the love and support they need. We also know that a lot of them come with criminal records because of their pimp. And it's not on here, but another thing that they come with is often a lot of debt from their pimp.
Yeah.
So we work with a place called Project Recovery, which helps them get their debts cleaned up. And we work with the police to try to get their criminal records fixed as well. Sometimes it works well and sometimes it doesn't. It just depends. But we're working on it. So we work with them on all of that. Like I mentioned, reintegration. It's definitely, the goal is to see them healed and building new lives with safe and long-term housing. We want them to be living independently. We don't discourage them from being on OW or ODSP if they need to be, but the goal is actually to have them independent and be, if their mental health allows them to actually be well enough to have a job, then that's what we encourage them to do, to actually be independent, right? Which is great. And so we help them with their education and all that stuff, trauma therapy, all these things, legal services. We partner with other communities or community partners in our community. We partner with them to get them their taxes done. And we have tutors that come in for free. We have horse therapy. We work on all sorts of things. We work with victim services and all these other places in the community. We're just looking at a partnership with a food market to give us fresh food. Like, we try to include the community in all that we're doing. So the community has been really great about, like, helping us with donations for clothing and food. So that's been really wonderful. We actually have, just a side note, we actually have a group of construction workers that have heard about us and asked us if we wanted a room renovated for free. So they are actually putting in a full gym in our basement.
Wow.
And supplying all the weights and everything and fitness equipment. So that's actually going to start happening anytime soon. They just verified that they have all the they did all the fundraising for us. And so that's really cool. But
Yes.
That's just a side note. I'll finish this. There's only 2 more slides.
Sure.
So the one thing about measuring human trafficking to be like, how much does it actually happen? Unfortunately, because the data is always late and because it's often a hidden crime and people don't come forward, many people don't come forward, we're unaware of actually how many people are being trafficked. We have a small picture of it. We don't really know, other than when we talk to the girls, they give us in a bit of insight, right, to how many people are out there. So Often the girls don't want to talk to authorities because they're afraid that they're going to get in trouble. They don't trust them because, unfortunately, there are always bad people in every industry, including the police, including the like every sector. And so sometimes they have been trapped, like have been victims of the police. So they sometimes don't trust the police, which I would say most of the police are amazing, but there are unfortunately some people that have abused that. So that's hard for them. So that is why it's difficult to actually know exactly how many people we're dealing with, because it's not always reported. So just a little slide on us. Basically, our goal is we want to bring awareness to people. We want to basically take care of these females that are being trafficked, and we want to give them a safe home. We want to love on them and provide for their basic needs, and then help resource them with all their goals and dreams, whether it's get their children back. We've done that for a few girls now where they lost the rights to their children, but we actually got them back for them because of Elora House and the program they did and all the groups and all the things that they were able to prove to CAS and prove to the courts that they were actually working on themselves, were clean and sober and learning life skills, that they were actually able to get their children back, which was amazing. And we're not just we don't just want to be a safe place, although that is amazing. We don't just want to be a shelter. We want to be a place where women come because they're ready to change their life. So often when girls go into a shelter, it's because they need a break from it, and they'll just go in for 30 days and then they'll go back out. So we do not, that's not what we want. We seriously interview the girls and we're like, listen, if you're coming here, it's because you want to be here at least for 3 months. You want to change your life. You want to get out of this forever. And so that's what we're looking for. And that's who we help, people that are serious about change. And so it's really great.
That's incredible. As you mentioned, it's like peeling back an onion,
Yeah.
all these different layers of and aspects of the program, but also of the lives of the girls that are being touched by this as well. Cross-culturally, can you speak to that? And in terms of clients, sorry, pardon me, residents, but cross-culturally in terms of getting the message out and communication in the community, is that something that you have dealt with, or do you have much experience with that in terms of the residents?
So I'm going to try to answer this
Mhm.
correctly. If I don't answer your question, tell me.
Yeah, for sure.
I personally have spoke to a couple of classes in CW. I have not like done a lot of, other than, that's not true. Like if somebody asks me to go talk about it, I do. And I have done that to like retirement homes. I've done that to students. I've done it to churches. So that is something I love to do and want to do. Elora House, obviously we want awareness out there, but our main, because we're a pretty small organization, but our main focus is to work with the girls themselves as frontline workers. And we've seen all different cultural backgrounds of girls coming in, like from that. Now everyone we've seen, all the 40 girls we've had are Canadians, but there's like all different people groups. So we've had Indigenous backgrounds, we've had like Black African, like all, like everybody, white, it doesn't matter. No one is like, because sometimes people ask me, oh, is it like they're all from another country, or they're this or they're that? No, like we've seen pretty much, I would say, a full spectrum come into our home. And we embrace and love them all. We definitely don't turn anyone away because of that, for sure. We are definitely inclusive in that. And So I don't know if I'm answering your
I
question.
think you are. And, it's the reason I'm being is I've worked with newcomers and survivors of trauma. And that was one of the questions that came to mind because you had mentioned the police aspect and the trust factor. And that was
Yeah,
often something that we had to deal with in terms of our newcomers at the time. So allowing that trust to open up in a different type of space, if you will, under different guidelines in a different country. But as you mentioned, all the girls are Canadian born, but cross culturally coming from different backgrounds.
yes,
So that trust factor in terms of the organization, in terms of the community partners, and all of that may come into play per se, if wanting to delve in 100% to access the resources that Elora's House has to offer.
yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, thank you for that. And I see Nicole has her hand raised. It maybe gives you a moment to catch your breath and just take a moment to get a drink or something. And Nicole, you have a question for Louisa, I think.
Yes. Apparently, I have three questions,
Okay.
actually. Um, First is neurodivergent people, like having an intellectual disability, are a vulnerable population and are often isolated and lonely. Does this put people who have an intellectual disability at higher risk of becoming a victim of sex trafficking?
Absolutely. I would say yes to that, because sometimes they don't know what they're getting into. And we actually have had, off the top of my head, I can think of three that had pretty major um, intellectual disabilities and sweet, 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 sweet young people. And yeah, just didn't really understand what was going on. So we were able to help them. So that was great. Um, at that time, we were only keeping girls for the first stage. So they got passed on to other organizations. But I definitely think they are definitely at higher risk. Yeah, for sure.
Okay, I got two more questions,
Sure,
if that's okay.
of
Thank
course.
you. Okay. Now, speaking of organizations, are there any materials or programs available in plain language and with pictures that will increase the awareness of sex trafficking for vulnerable populations?
You know what? I don't know for sure. I know that I don't personally know of any. I do know that there's a lot of work being done on it. Oh, wait a minute. I know that just my memory is coming back to me here. It's not victim services, but it's wait a second. Not victim
It's on
services.
the
It's
formula.
the one Crime Stoppers.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Crime Stoppers, and I believe they worked with victim services
Yeah.
and the police, have some great videos.
Yeah.
They have some phenomenal videos that are very, very simple. They probably have some information in hard copy as well. I I don't know for sure. I
Well,
know
this
that just specifically for human trafficking, they probably do, but I don't know for sure. And that's a really good question that I can find out.
No, that is a good
I have
question. And just to jump in for just a moment, we actually have Crime Stoppers coming up from the Wellington area. We've had her before.
Oh,
She's
awesome.
absolutely fantastic, and we
She
do
is
touch on that subject
good.
actually when we have spoken before. Go ahead, Nicole. Sorry about that.
I have one last question and then I have to get going.
Okay,
Okay,
yeah, for sure.
thank you. The last question I have is, what is one thing community members could do about sex trafficking?
Okay. You just want one?
Yeah.
That's the last one.
Okay. Oh, I think there's a few things. I'm going to tell you what one of the easiest things that somebody can do. So
Okay.
currently I have I have a sign on my lawn, and it says, see something, say something. And it's about human trafficking. And it's really great. Rotary in Guelph has started this, and it's basically just a sign in your lawn, and it just makes people aware to keep their eyes open and to call someone if there's a problem. That is an easy thing that anyone can do, right? Just stick a sign in your lawn. Um, I think that that is a great thing to do. I also think that, can I expand and say that, with your permission, I think another thing that people can do is actually keep their eyes open and be safe places for their friends and their children, especially if you have children, or your friends and your family, to be aware, even when you're out, if you're traveling and you're at a hotel, be aware of the fact that, oh, there's a girl, and there people keep going in and out of her room, or like she's not bringing any luggage in, or like different things like that. There's things to be aware of if you're out, at a hotel for some reason. There's things like, well, something that I think is also extremely important is to volunteer for the different organizations that are helping these victims. So, like victim services and Elora House and different places like that, right? Or even some people have the ability to give not just their time, but their resources, their money. So that's another thing people can do, is give to these places so that we can actually take care of these girls. So those are more than you asked for.
And to compliment Nicole as well, Nicole, so what are some of the boards you sit on before you head out? So Louisa can appreciate the involvement that you have in terms of the education process for things. Oh,
Sorry, I'm just writing
yeah,
quickly.
yeah, no worries.
Um, Speaking of, I know what you want me to say. Can you remind me what you just said, please?
Yeah, for sure. So I was wondering if you could highlight some of the boards that you sit on, and you enable others as well on the
Um,
board. Yeah, so if you could maybe
yes,
highlight that, and that would help just our conversation to wrap up as well. Um,
of course.
yeah.
Well, there's many boards I'm on, actually, multiple. I'm on the DEIA board.
Mhm,
I think, I'm not sure. I'm not 100% if I am or not.
mhm.
But with reassurance, I am the president of Community Living Ontario. And oh, this is a code.
Mhm.
And this is a very interesting topic that we can bring this up again in the future, that we can get together and talk more about it, like staying in contact.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And my business, so if, yeah, staying in close contact, that'd be awesome.
Because there's such a crossover and it's unfinished conversation, really.
Yes.
Yeah,
We could certainly go further. And I know that you mentioned that you have to head out soon, Nicole, and Louisa and I might just wrap up when you do. But in the same sense, another the programs that you do as well too, I know for a fact that it would complement some of the work that you do.
yeah,
Yeah, and that speaks to community partnerships, community trust, community education, and all levels. And you talked about neurodivergent education as well and how important that is.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Nicole, you.
And I'm and I know I have to keep going. So but to keep an open mind, I'm willing to speak about this, even if through my business,
Yeah.
Nicole
Yeah.
Flynn Enterprises.
Yeah.
Please keep me in mind,
Yeah. 100%.
please. Thank you.
Yeah. You too,
That's
Nicole.
awesome. It's really nice to meet you, Nicole. I
Yes,
really appreciate your questions, and I love that you're so involved in things. That's amazing. Good for you.
Mhm.
thank you.
And all I at this point, I'm just going to be wrapping up, Nicole. But all I'm going to be simply covering is just who are some of the supporters in the community, and how can people reach out? Is that something you'd like to stick around for, or do you have to scoot off right now?
Well, I know I have to get going, but I just
Okay,
don't know what
got it.
I'm thinking of popping up. Yeah.
Okay, all right. So, Louise, I'm going to carry on with you while Nicole slips away. With
Okay.
respect, on a Saturday, we're here today, and I'm really grateful that you could attend, Nicole. Appreciate it.
Mhm.
And Louisa, I wondered if you could speak to some of the partners. And believe you had a fundraiser recently. Is that right?
Yes.
Yes. Could you
Yes.
speak to that to some of our listeners and viewers who will be tuning in at a
Sure.
future date as well?
Yeah. We had a golf tournament and we had several, man, I don't know if I'm going to remember them all, but we had like some major places like Skyline,
Yeah.
um, and Hammond Power Solutions, Sayers, a bunch of local places. We've had like several Rotary clubs, um, community resource, kindred. I can't remember all the names.
So
Some of
many.
them are listed on my website.
Yeah.
But yeah, we do have a great amount of community support, even just locally here in Fergus, Elora, and Guelph. Like we don't have government support, but we do have local support and community support, which is amazing. Um, so it's been wonderful. It's been great. And so the charity golf tournament we did for last year, cooperators did it for us and they raised 140 grand around that. And
Wow.
that was amazing. This year we did it on our own because they do a different one every year for somebody else. And so we raised almost 40 grand, which was good for our first one. We had 77 participants and we had 23 sponsors
Yeah.
for that gave us financially, and then about another 20 that gave us gifts. So it was pretty amazing. Elora and Fergus and Guelph all really participated in that. And even Orangeville gave us some things as well. So it was kind of cool.
That is,
Um,
yeah, for sure.
and so we have a big fundraiser coming in February, the coldest night of the year, which the community rallies around us again and does that. And then in May, we're going to do a big Princess Gala fundraiser, and it is specifically for women to honor women and to let them know they're worth it. They're worth being spoiled and loved. And so those are kind of our three main things that we will be doing every year is the golf tournament, the coldest night of the year walk, and the gala for women.
And you've had the Gala for Women before as well, right?
So we had Princess Ball
That's it.
before through the church, but it was never a fundraiser. It was just this is my 10th year doing it, this actually in November, and it was always just to spoil women, just to give them inspiration and to let them know that they're loved no matter what, that no matter what walk of life, no matter what's happened to them, that they can be above their struggles and that they can accomplish things because their life is worth it. And so this is our 10th year doing it in November. And then we decided that next year we're going to actually turn it into a fundraiser for Elora House. So
That's incredible. That really is. And I guess if someone wanted to reach out to you and get in touch and support,
yes.
whether they be across Ontario or another part of Canada, even,
Yep.
how could they do that?
Lots of ways. They can go on the website and just email, or there's a phone number there as well. They can call us. They can reach me like through do you want me to actually give you my email or something?
You know what? We could post it if you'd like.
Yep.
If you're comfortable with that, you can just let me know what we could put on when we do post this video as well.
Sure.
So we can have that in the text so people could review that and then perhaps share that resource with someone else as well and tell two friends and tell two friends and pass it on,
Absolutely.
right? That's
Yeah, for
kind of the way
sure.
it works. And just a couple more questions before we wrap up. I do have one about words of wisdom, but I wondered if you have any residents who have graduated that are able to participate in this process with others. that are part of the program currently, or a part of the process in the community, being involved in some of the fundraisers and such. So one, do they help current residents? And two, can they be a part of that themselves in terms of the mindfulness of resources shared in the community?
So we actually, our goal, which I should have mentioned earlier, our goal is to actually have the girls eventually come back and work with us, which we did have one girl do that, our very first resident. She worked with us for about 6 months and did great, and then she went to school.
Amazing.
So she did like our evening shift, and it was, she loved that. She wanted to give back, and so she volunteered with us first, and then we hired her.
Oh.
And I have asked her so she actually did a video with us, which is like her face is blocked out and her voice is disguised, which I do have. But I actually asked her to speak. She hasn't gotten back to me about the Princess Ball. She's not sure. It's been over 3 years, but it's really hard for them. It's it's a safety issue for some of them, and it's a shame thing too. And it's like going on trial. If you have to go on trial and talk about what bad things people did to you,
Mhm.
it's just really vulnerable.
Mhm.
So the girls are allowed to help. Like if they feel that they want to help with the fundraising or do anything,
Okay.
they are involved as much as they can be.
Nice.
We're encouraged, like we encourage them to, but they have to be ready to
Oh
kind of
yeah,
face
yeah.
that. So yeah, like even for the golf tournament, they were preparing, like just helping us prepare things and stuff like that, but they didn't actually come. Like I asked one of them if they wanted to, and they kind of thought they might want to say something, and then they were like, I don't know if I'm ready for that. So,
Mhm.
you know, I think that as the further they're away from their exit date,
Yeah,
the more comfortable they will be.
for sure.
So, but it is for the girls we have right now, there's um the one girl that just actually graduated recently, like they're pretty prominent cases. So
Mhm.
it's not like something they want because their cases are still happening.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I
So
totally do. Yeah, for sure.
it's kind of a tricky thing. It's like people say, can we get pictures of the place? And
Right.
I'm like, no, we can't. Actually, it's a safety thing, which is
Yeah.
unfortunate, but
Yeah.
I'm trying to find ways to take pictures without
Mhm.
revealing the location because
Mhm.
um yeah, I mean, I could take pictures of a house, like it's not a big deal, but it's
Mhm.
not as fulfilling. But as the girls are, we'll see. The one girl, um, it's been her, she's been like the longest gone and is doing really well. She would like to come back at some point, but she's just not ready yet. So
Oh, for sure. And,
yeah.
and sort of the narrative changes then, right? It becomes a story of hope and
Yeah.
moving on and a new beginning, new beginnings,
Yep.
as opposed to the previous life that someone was involved in.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I often, and while we're kind of wrapping up, I think about writing and even just publications that, and I'm just putting it out there from some of the residents. Should that be an avenue they want to go down at some point? They have another name that they can use for those publications, and providing literature for even children's books, or
Yeah.
I'm just putting
Yeah.
it out there.
Yeah. That's
That
true.
empowerment and enabling, right? There are
Yeah.
ways to work through that process therapeutically, uh,
Yes.
and then still have
Absolutely.
revenue from that, right?
Yeah. We're
Um,
actually working on trying to see, we have someone who's talked about giving us a kiln is it called,
oh,
with the
neat.
pottery,
Yeah, yeah,
to have them work on pottery or do something that they can create and actually sell
that's
for
cool.
the girls. So
Yeah.
we're looking at, there's a lot of things we
Oh,
want to do.
yeah.
We're still pretty young, so I think we're doing pretty good, but we want to grow and we want to, yeah. This year they did a little garden. was not as well, a lot of gardens weren't that successful this year,
Mhm.
but they were just learning how to, but they did get lots of lettuce and some tomatoes and cucumbers and squash, and not
Mhm.
as much as I would have liked.
Yeah.
But uh yeah, next year that's going to be more of a focus to really um we want to plant some raspberry bushes and maybe a fruit tree, and just so that they can see like you can live off the land a little bit and what you can do with it. So we're really trying to teach them like about all those things, so it's kind of fun. Mhm.
Yeah, congratulations, Louise, on a dream that grew, and here you are. It's 3 years down the road, and but as far as in lived experiences, you have brought so much to the table in terms of the conversation and the direction that Elora House is going. So I do want to congratulate you on behalf of Youth Connections Cafe, Bell Let's Talk, and Moksha Canada Foundation, and
Thank you.
myself personally. Just hearing you speak and being present with you on this conversation has just been so enlightening.
Thank
I'm
you.
just very grateful for the moment in time with you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
It's my
absolutely.
pleasure. It was my pleasure. I take Fridays and Saturdays off. I try
Mhm.
to not do any work. I just need to recharge because I work long hours.
Mhm.
Um, but this is something that does not take from me.
Wow.
I find this very fulfilling and life-giving because it's purpose, and I'm very
Mhm.
purpose driven. So, because the kids were teasing me, Mom, you're not supposed to work today. I'm like, but this is fun.
Yeah.
So, so I am
Oh.
very honored to be here to speak, and I really want to encourage young people to find a safe person to talk to, and if they have to reach out to me, I would be more than happy to help them find someone, or myself talk to them. I've talked to many people,
Yeah.
and I don't ever want anyone to feel like they are trapped and they can't find someone to talk to. So that's really super important.
Wow. Well, I think that's the words of wisdom part of the conversation then. I was actually going to ask you, do you have any words of wisdom before we sign off? But I don't know if there's anything.
Well,
Yes.
yeah, I just want to say also, I think it's really important, now you can even, it's kind of funny, I'm going to say this, but you can even find it on TikTok, but there's it's really educate yourself on healthy boundaries and healthy relationships, because sometimes we get into a relationship, we don't know any different because we don't see any different. We've not learned, we've maybe grown up in an unhealthy lifestyle and we don't even know it.
Mhm.
Um, and learning about those things is so important. I
Mhm.
know as a young girl, my parents loved me and tried to do their best they could with me. But
Mhm.
I realized in my 40s, after reading a really good book,
Mhm.
that there was a lot of unhealthy behaviors that I did not know were unhealthy, just
Mhm.
some controlling things and stuff like that. And so I went on a adventure, really, to
Wow.
working on myself and becoming the best person I can be for my kids and for my husband. And it changed our lives. And so I really, that's my words of wisdom, is to find out what love really is,
Wow.
and to go on a on a adventure to discovering and unlocking the truth about love and what it looks like and what it doesn't look like,
Mhm.
because love is not jealous and angry and controlling. It's the opposite, right? And so um and just knowing that they have someone safe to talk to is super important. Those are the things I would say to kids and to
That's
adults, actually.
Oh, very
So,
much so, for sure. We actually had a guest on from PrevNet who is from the University of Alberta, and they do research on safe relationships and educating our young and what that looks like, and other older adults as well too. So
yeah,
you have actually enhanced this conversation and the journey that we're going on, learning from different sectors of the community. It's been just a humble opportunity to speak with Luisa Krause, founder of the Elora House, doing amazing things over there. And if you'd like to reach out to them, we'll put some information up on our video as well in the text, so you can reach out should you want to support or educate others along the way about the programming and what's offered. My name is Lynn McEntee. I've been your humble host, and thank you so much, Luisa.
Thank you. That's
Thank you a
great.
lot. Thank you all. Youth Connections Cafe. Follow us on social media, and if you have an idea for programming, let us know. We'd love to hear from you. Take care. Thank you, Moksha Canada Foundation, as well.